Hey everyone. If you're someone like me who wants to learn something new and quickly, but it's difficult for you to do it maybe because of your attention span getting lower or because of doom scrolling and lot of other distractions which is keeping you from learning something new and making it difficult for you, I think this video is for you. At the end of the video, I'm going to tell you one simple thing that you can do to learn anything new quickly and fast. It's a little bit unconventional, going against what everyone says, but something that really helped me personally, and I hope something that helps you as well. Again, I don't have any experience in medicine. I don't practice medicine. I'm a computer science graduate working in finance, so I have no linking to medicine. But it's just that I listen to Huberman podcasts quite a lot, and I feel that's something that's helpful for me. Might also be helpful for my friends, and again for my audience as well. So, and this is a skill that I feel is very difficult and important to have, especially when you're 20s and 30s and progressing in your career. So this is the video for you. At the end of the video, I'm going to talk about one thing that will help you improve your learning rate quite substantially. So stay tuned for that. Before going into how to learn something quickly, we need to first understand the basics of it, which is basically how neuroplasticity works, right? So what exactly is neuroplasticity? Imagine your brain, right? Your brain is made up of different neurons. Those neurons are connected to each other with, let's say, circuits, and multiple neurons make one circuit, right? Whenever you do any kind of actions, the circuits are fired up together, like basically multiple neurons are fired up together. So if also one circuit is fired up, because of which you know what to do, and hence you keep doing that. So taking an example, right? Let's say when you first learned how to ride a bike, when you're born, you don't know how to ride a bike, right? But when you first start riding a bike, that's when your brain understands, okay, these are the neurons I want to fire together, basically make a circuit, so that every time this person wants to ride a bike, I will trigger that circuit. And as soon as that circuit is triggered, the next time you're riding a bike, you know what exactly you learned. So it's basically your brain rewiring so that it can perform the actions you want it to perform. And that's exactly what neuroplasticity is, right? Now, this neuroplasticity is easier for younger folks as compared to adults like us. Imagine like your brain is like a clay, right? When it's hot, it's easy to shape and reshape, like push in different directions. But as soon as you grow older, or as soon as the clay gets colder, it's difficult to mold it because it gets a little bit stagnant. And studies say that neuroplasticity in human brain is quite flexible until the age of 25, after which it gets really difficult for your brain to rewire itself, right? So, and I'll tell you why it gets difficult. So now that we know that what neuroplasticity is, why is it difficult for adults to get plasticity as compared to younger people, I think it's important for us to understand three different chemicals or three friends who kind of help us learn anything new, right? So those three friends or those three chemicals are basically acetylcholine, epinephrine, and dopamine. So acetylcholine helps you get focus, acetylcholine helps you in alertness, and dopamine helps you in basically sending out those rewarding chemicals whenever you achieve something. So with the cocktail mix of all these three chemicals, once you have this three cocktail mix is when you can achieve neuroplasticity. So let's take an example of how a small child learns how to ride a bike, primarily from a brain perspective. So let's say I'm a brain of a child and this child is trying to ride a bike. Whenever the person is trying to ride a bike, that I will release something called acetylcholine and epinephrine, meaning I'll tell that person that, hey, you need to stay focused and you need to be alert of your surroundings, right? And after sometimes when the person starts making some errors, and after the person is past that error phase, I'll release something called dopamine, saying, hey, you did good, so this is your dopamine. So only when you have a combination of these three is when the child will know how to learn ride a bike. So one thing that I mentioned, which basically contributes the most when it comes to learning new things, is making errors. You need to make errors in order to learn anything new. And for those of you out there who have some experience in machine learning and deep learning, you might be knowing of this term of backpropagation, where you have a set of neurons, they predict something, based on the prediction, you compare it with what it actually should be, and you pass on the error rate back to the starting node, and again it all traverses through different sets of neurons. And this feedback loop keeps on happening until your prediction is equivalent to what exactly you're expecting. So this is what, like, again, at a very high level, you can think of backpropagation is how your brain corrects itself, or basically the mechanism or the algorithm behind neuroplasticity. When you start learning something and you keep making errors, there are two ways to handle it. One way is leveraging that error frustration and then using it to improve your neuroplasticity. And another way is to back off and then just not do it, right? So if you go to the second way of like just backing out, giving up and not doing it, you will never achieve the neuroplasticity. And that's why it's difficult for adults to achieve plasticity, because as and when you grow older, your tolerance for error starts decreasing. And as and when the tolerance decreases, you are more susceptible to walking off rather than just keep trying, right? So the one thing that will help you learn something new fast and quick is making errors. And now I'll tell you how exactly can you leverage making errors in learning something more quickly. So whenever you start, let's say you are someone at the age of 30 and you want to learn something. When you start studying, I think it takes around 5 to 10 minutes for your acetylcholine and epinephrine to kick in, which is the focus and the alert chemicals. Once they start kicking in, only then after 10 minutes you can focus on something properly, right? The first 10 minutes is a struggle because your brain is not ready to learn something, or your brain is not ready to take something new. But post that 10-minute mark, you are basically locked into that material and you start learning it. After 1 hour of your focus, which is around like 1 hour 10 minutes of when you start studying, you'll start facing errors. And usually people give up at this point. And remember, you need 3 different chemicals to learn something new: acetylcholine, epinephrine, dopamine. So till now, only 2 chemicals have been released: acetylcholine and epinephrine. There's no dopamine in the game, but you need dopamine. So what do? So whenever you start facing errors when you're trying to learn, instead of giving up, try to think about something that motivates you, or basically try to remember the whole reason why you started learning this thing, right? Is it just because someone told you? If that's the case, the plasticity will never happen. But if it's something that, let's say you're trying to push this code out and it's not getting done, you're facing errors, but you are motivated to do it because if you do it, something will be more efficient, more optimized, or this will benefit your career. I think that's when the motivation kicks in, that's when the dopamine is released. So dopamine is not when you achieve something, it's basically the pursuit of achieving something that releases more dopamine. So as soon as the dopamine kicks in and you're facing errors, that's when the neuroplasticity process starts. And once you cross that 7 to 30 minutes mark of making error, you again get somewhere around 1 hour of mark to focus on your material. So this is what we're talking about. So just to summarize, if you're someone in your 20s and 30s or 40s, and if you want to learn something new quickly, keep making errors, and it's okay to make errors, accept the errors, acknowledge it, try to see what you've done wrong, try to correct it, and don't back off, right? Don't give up as soon as you face errors for 10-15 minutes, because that's not how the brain will learn. The brain will only learn when you keep making errors. The back propagation, basically, you keep giving your neurons feedback saying, hey, this is wrong, let me correct something. And it's easy to give up, but you won't really give up if you have good enough motivation to keep doing it. So always try to attach your task with some kind of internal motivation, saying, hey, I'm doing this because this will help me in XYZ. And only when you have that motivation will you keep persisting through the errors, and you will increase your neuroplasticity. So even though this might be really small, petty advice of, let's say, like, hey, keep making errors, that's a very simple advice. But I feel this is a simple but most powerful advice, because people right now are very fearful of making mistakes or making errors. And as soon as they do something, and if it doesn't really work out, they start backing off or they start giving up. If you give up, the brain will never learn. And if the brain never learns, you will just be stuck at the same level that you were before. So whenever you face something, whenever you face an error, be happy, because that's your brain's way of learning something. Accept it and then keep pushing it, at least for 30 minutes. Make errors for 30 minutes, attach your task with some kind of motivation, and see the results. That'll be really surprising. And if you're interested in such kind of productivity concepts, to learn more about this, put down what questions you have in your comments. I'll try to create more videos in a similar theme. So thank you so much for watching. Subscribe for more. Thank you.